Greetings, members, one and all of the Salivation Nation. Silver, the super metal. Let's explore! This is an older infographic, but I think it tells us pretty much what we need to know about the shiny white reflective metal known as silver out there today. And I don't know why they're calling it undercover super metal. Everything is pretty much above board. This is all information that is pretty easily researched. But I think it's neat how this puts it into perspective here, because the actual title of the infographic itself is the linchpin of technology, healthcare, and medicine. And really, that is what it's about. And most of the things that we're going to read about here, one could probably make a good argument for with regards to copper, because copper has many of these capabilities and uses. But I believe that silver is more diverse and provides much better of a value in terms of efficiency with regards to all three of these areas here and more. And so let's go through this. This is fascinating. Silver is playing a major role in technology today. Switches, discs, circuit boards, alloys, inks, and films, all made of silver and making our everyday gadgets work. Silver even helps technology be green, clean our water, and heal our wounds. Silver is an important part of our lives today and will continue to be tomorrow. And that is for sure. I think that it's something that is going to stay around for a while. And I think that part of what we're looking at here and discussing has a lot to do with its price performance as well. And not for the reasons you might think. But let's talk about some interesting facts about silver. Did you know that NASA's Magellan spacecraft relied on silver-coated quartz tiles to protect it from solar radiation during a 4-year scientific mission? It's interesting because solar was used, but gold was not in this particular case. Usually gold is utilized in some of these cases for utilization in space. So I found that quite interesting and fascinating. The world's strongest alloy is made of silver and aluminum, and it is an essential component of the Air Force C-117 transport and the Army's Apache helicopter, which is fascinating indeed. Now, this is a snapshot of silver produced in 2011. There were 761,600,000 ounces produced that year alone. And again, from 2011, the top producing countries for silver are 20% of the world's production was in Mexico at 152.8 million ounces. And Peru was at 14%. And actually, that shows the same number. So there probably is a typo there. Actually, all three of these show the same number of ounces produced. Yeah, that's interesting. And you can understand it being 14 and 13.6, and perhaps maybe you might see a slight difference, but not much. But I think that was a typo on their part for the producers of this thing. But I believe that Mexico and Peru are still the top producing countries today, with China a close third. Silver is slightly harder than gold. I think most of us have known that. And the melting point for silver is 1,763.51 degrees. And actually, I remember this well from back in the days when I played around with melting silver and pouring things. You can see those videos on my channel. If you go back around the 2014 year, we did a lot of that for fun. Silver is soft, ductile, and malleable, and has the highest electrical and thermal conductivity of all metals. Now that is quite fascinating. This is one area where it beats copper for its ductility, softness, malleability, and being the highest electrical and thermal conductivity of any other metal around there. And nowhere this has heard of this one, I'm sure, is completely out of date now. 30% of silver produced is used in the photographic industry, mostly as silver nitrate. That is moving more towards the photovoltaic industry for solar panels and the like. So you can probably ignore that number since this is from 2011. Silver ions and compounds kill bacteria, algae, and fungi. Silver coins used to be stored with water and wine to prevent spoiling. I also believe they used to be stored in milk too. Silver is derived from the Latin word for silver, argentum. So the Ag is why it was utilized for the atomic number. And that argentum means shining. And boy, that's what silver does. It shines. All you have to do is take a look at a proof coin with that mirror-like finish, and you can see your reflection. Very, very fascinating. In fact, silver is the most reflective metal on the periodic table as well, which is why it's used in mirrors. Almost all electronic devices are made with silver components, from turning out the lights to turning on the television. It has an on-off button. Silver is probably playing an important role behind the scenes. Even though copper is used in wires and the like, silver is also used for the more crucial sections of electronic devices. In fact, switches themselves, silver membrane switches requiring only a light touch, are used in buttons on televisions, telephones, and microwave ovens, children's toys, computer keyboards, and even conventional room light switches lasting for millions of on and off cycles. Semiconductors, these low current switches, are also found in control panels on cable television, telephones, and devices with digital electronics. Silver-jacketed superconducting oxide wires can carry more than 140 times the electrical load of copper wire with less than 1% of the weight. So that's how silver can beat out copper, and even more economically so. Really, in this day and age, we literally would not be able to communicate without silver. We would not be able, because with the internet, with these devices, most of the devices we use today are for communication, except for maybe that microwave here. But I would say even in some extent, these toys have a communication ability if they're electronics and they speak, you know. Circuit boards. Printed circuit boards with silver-based inks and films are applied to composite boards to create electrical pathways. And then we have batteries. Batteries manufactured with silver alloys are 35% better than the lithium. Though more expensive than lithium batteries, the power-to-weight ratios exceed. Probably just a matter of time before we see that cost price go down and that technology improve to replace, but so far it hasn't been widespread even now, 9 years later. Silver-based inks and films are used in radio frequency identification, otherwise known as RFID antennas, to products to prevent theft and allow for inventory control, prepaid toll road passes for convenience, and 40 silver-tipped switches may be found in fully equipped automobile to start the engine, activate power steering, brakes, windows, mirrors, locks, and other electrical accessories. And I'm sure that is only compounded in the amount of silver used in cars these days compared to then. Fascinating indeed. Let's look here at some water purification uses for silver. Millions sold each year. Microdine, a silver colloid, prevents bacteria and algae from building up in filters, helping to remove bacteria, chlorine, trihalmethanes, and lead particles and odor. Sanitizer, catalytic action of silver and oxygen, and that sanitizes that virtually eliminates the need for the use of corrosive chlorine, which is good. I think we might see more and more of that in the wake of the coronavirus epidemic as well. Then we have filtration, where silver ions are slowly replacing chlorine in water purification systems in hospitals, community water systems, pools, and spas. I think that's a great thing. Then we have silver that can be used to help prevent disease. Silver prevents bacteria buildup in pipes, connections, and water tanks, which are the main cause of Legionnaire's disease. Interesting, yes. Now we move on to something where the future is really going to go, and that is nanotechnology. Silver is added to fabrics, appliances, carpets, and air purifiers as it acts as a sterilizer, killing harmful bacteria that would otherwise be treated with harsh chemicals. So, silver nanoparticles, researched for 120 years, used in washing machines, refrigerators, air conditioners, air purifiers, and vacuum cleaners for sterilizing up to 650 types of bacteria. And we have silver in enforced bandages, interrupts bacteria growth and speeds healing time by promoting the growth of new healthy cells, especially valuable for burn and wound victims, and is also non-toxic to humans. That's why you can take silver and you can lick it, you can touch it, you can fondle it. I do all of those things on a regular basis, especially the licking, and I have a piece that I carry with me in my pocket. I'm sure many of you have seen the video about that silver dollar that I've carried with me since 1990. There it is. I'm flipping it right here. I'll link to the video at the end. You can see how much it's worn down, a full 1/10 of an ounce. That's from me holding it, licking it excessively. I love to lick my silver. And just a little disclaimer there. I'm just kidding about licking the silver, okay? Now we have green technology. Is the more focused on the environment. 100 million ounces of silver are projected for use by solar energy in 2015. I wonder what that number turned out to be. My guess probably is true, because that technology has certainly increased. For sure, photovoltaic cells, which is the main ingredient, is silver. 90% of crystalline silicon photovoltaic cells, which is the most common cell, is something that I know from personal experience. As someone who has solar panels, I inquired and found out that there's an average of 20 grams per silver per panel. That's right. And 76% increase in photovoltaic installations between 2012 and 2013. So yes, indeed. So we've seen quite a bit, and it's just climbing year on year. It's becoming economically viable. And, it's a no-brainer for the average home and some businesses as well that don't produce a heck of a lot of energy. This is a way to be able to save energy, and what better way to get free energy from the sun is what I say. Then we have thermal windows. Thermal windows reduce up to 95% of sunlight, transparent coating that gives thermal windows their ability to reflect hot summer sun outward and keep internal heat inward. So over 250 million square feet of silver-coated glass are used in homes in the United States each year. Wow, I did not know that. Fascinating indeed. So there's a full extent of application remains to be seen, especially in the world of green technology. We already know, we've talked about it, in terms of electric vehicles and the demand for silver there and other uses. I think silver is one of the most versatile metals, I believe. And maybe copper being a close second, iron being another one, but iron basically is used for steel and technology. So I think those three metals, iron, copper, and silver, with silver being right up there, is one of the most diverse metals. Now, how does this translate in the world of the precious metals markets that we know? Well, as you know, silver has been performing poorly compared to gold over the last really decade. I think that part of the reason is that we've seen an increased usage of silver in these areas in terms of the production and technology, healthcare, and medicine. And so we've seen somewhat of a demand for the physical metal to stack and to accumulate as a wealth preserver, which is what silver has been traditionally known as. But there's always been an industrial component to it as well. How that will play out in the coming years as we head into the 2020s is going to be very interesting. And I think it'll be very tough to gauge because as demand does increase, and I think it could, technology and efficiency will also increase, which means that maybe solar panels will be able to do more with less silver. So in other words, the average solar panel now contains 20 grams of silver per panel. Well, maybe they can get by with 13 grams in the coming years and be more efficient, but there may be more of those panels produced. Same thing with other applications. And then we have, the ability to recycle the silver if the prices get to a point where it makes it possible to recycle. But silver, though it is consumed in these applications, does not mean it disappears. And silver can and will be something recycled in those manners, just like aluminum is or anything else out there. So it's a matter of time before that happens. And I think people really, they understand that and they know that. And I think that's why the prices have kind of maintained, relatively reasonable levels in recent years, especially compared to gold. Now, if there is a huge surge in demand, both industrially for these applications and manufacturing, as well as in accumulation for wealth preservation, in the form of coins, rounds, and bars, well, we could see a price increase dramatically. It just depends, I think, on the factors that I mentioned: demand, supply, and true demand compared to supply. Because sometimes you really can't get the straight story from organizations like the Silver Institute, as I pointed out in prior videos. But you have to also watch gold's price, because if gold's price goes up substantially, you're going to see silver's price go up probably even more substantially. And that's a factor of how those metals are tied together in their performance. Because when gold goes down, silver tends to go down even more. But if gold goes up, silver tends to rise even more, which could, if that happens on a continual basis, you're going to see silver rise, not because of what this infographic is talking about, because of the hedge factor. In other words, silver as a precious metal recognized as money, rather than as an industrial commodity. And that's kind of the war we see with silver. And I believe right now the war is being won by its properties as a commodity, as opposed to its properties as money. What I like to call as a dormant or hibernating money. It's kind of asleep there, recognized by a few of us out there as money, but by and large, look at all these uses, and this is an out-of-date infographic. So there you have it. What are your thoughts? Post them in the comment section below. And then we all know the diversity of silver. How is it going to play out in terms of price performance in the coming years? And what do you think it's going to take before there's a mass recycling program for silver? I'd like to extend a multitude of gratitude to you all for taking the time to watch this video, and encourage you to please, and I do mean it, I'm not just saying this just for my health, although I want to be healthy as well. Make no mistake, I do want to be healthy. But I want you to please rate. That means that little blue button that you see on the video, which is going to be somewhere on your screen there below this video on the right-hand side. If you press that thing, it's going to make me squirt some happy juice. You know what I'm saying? And comment. Then subscribe.